Alright guys, so I looked through most of these and some of them are easy and some of them are a little bit out there. So the first one, I actually did this a really weird way and Makai actually showed me a much easier way to do it. So, how many liters of alcohol should be added to 60 liters of a 25% solution of alcohol in water to increase it to a 40% solution? So, we did the 25% solution that I already have right now. So I did 25% of 60, which is just half and then half again. So 15 liters right now. I was like, okay, how much more do I need to add to that to make the solution a 40% solution? So a 40% solution of a 60 liter thing is going to be 24 liters. And so then I just found the difference between these two to figure out how much I need to get up. Or how many liters of water that I need to add. So hopefully that makes sense. For this next one, a salesman needs to take a taxi to a business meeting. The cost of the taxi is $1.50 for the first quarter mile and 75 cents for each additional one. So that's like a slopey thing. So it's like, okay, this is 75 cents per quarter mile, plus I have to pay that initial $1.50. The total trip that I took was $30.75. Now when I solved for x here, I got an amount, but I needed to add one more quarter mile to that for the initial quarter mile, and then that's in quarter miles. So to find miles, I have to take that number and divide by 4 so that I can figure out how many miles that is total. So hopefully that kind of helps. Your location problem. I think I did use a calculator on that one, by the way, just to make the math faster. You could do it without, but it's just easier to do some of that with a calculator, like dividing by 0.75. Okay, so for this one, the endpoints of a diameter of a circle are at those spots. So I did draw myself like a little mini graph over here, and I plotted the -2, -4, and then I plotted the 10, 8, like that. And it is the diameter of a circle. So from end to end, the circle kind of goes around like this. I'm not even going to attempt to draw one. So if line L passes through the center of the circle and has a slope of -6, what is the y-intercept of that line? So I needed to know where the center is, and the center is going to be right in the middle of this. So I kind of counted how long it would take me to get up and over to that spot. So if I'm starting down here at -4 and going all the way up to 8, that means I traveled 12 up. And if I'm starting over here at -2 and I'm traveling all the way over to 10, then I went 12 across. So my midpoint is going to be when I go 6 up and 6 across. So up 6 and over 6. So to find out where that spot was, I kind of started down here and I just moved it right 6 and up 6, which is going to put me at 4, 2, which is going to be the center of my circle. And if L passes through that and has a slope of -6, then I can put this in point slope form and find my y-intercept. So in point slope form, it's going to look like y equals -6 parentheses x minus 4 plus 2. I distributed the -6 and then found my y-intercept. So hopefully you see it. We will get to circle stuff later in Algebra 2 non-year long. So hopefully that'll help. Okay, on set 9, problem, the college problem, I think is pretty straightforward. I used elimination and I multiplied the bottom one by 2. Now the only sneaky thing is here, once you solve for x and solve for y, you're going to have to take those values and plug it into this thing here. So when I do elimination, if I happen to get that x is 3, if I then find that y is 2, I would put the 3 in here and the 2 in there and get that value. And that's the one you're going to pick. So that's kind of the only sneaky thing there. Algebra 2, non-year long, we actually talked about this today. So if we have a rational thing is equal to 21 and x cannot be 4, and it can't be because we can't have 0 in the denominator, what is the solution? Now, we haven't talked about solving them yet, but I factored the top and got x plus 7, x minus 4, because those will multiply to negative 28, and add to 3 in the middle, which then I noticed that these factors would cancel out, and so I had x plus 7 equals 21, which then allowed me to find my answer for x. Okay, the location problem here. So the table to the right shows the results of 11th grade students who took the SATs, all of you. Some of these students took an SAT course. If one of these students who took the SAT course is chosen at random, so we're really just looking at the students who took the course, which are all of these, what is the probability that that student did not score above 1200? So we're looking at that number right there. So this is kind of probability stuff. Out of the total that took SAT, there were 168 of those. 45 of them scored the 1200 or below. And so this is the percent you're trying to find. Remember, you're going to get a decimal here. And so to change it to a percent, you want to move it twice and then just make sure we round appropriately. I did use a calculator on that because I can't divide that. So definitely, yes, calculator here. Okay, moving on to 10. So looking at problem set 10. A person standing at the top of a 40-foot building looking down at a car below on a line of sight that creates a 35-degree angle with the building. How far is the car from the base of the building? So this is some geometry type stuff. We actually just did this in geometry. So we have a person standing at the top of a building, and it's 40 feet tall. He's looking down at a car below. We got a car here, vroom, vroom. Don't judge me. On a line of sight that creates a 35-degree angle with the building. So between building and line of sight, you got 35 degrees. We want to know how far the car is from the base of the building, and you get a lovely right triangle right there. Look at my beautiful drawing. And so because it's a right triangle, you can use sine, cosine, or tangent. And because your angle is right here and you have the opposite and adjacent side, you will use tangent of your angle is equal to opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 40. To solve for x, you just times by 40. And I had to use my calculator on this because I can't do tangent of 35 in my head. Whatever I get, I times it by 40, and that's how far it is from the base of the building. Obviously appropriately rounded. Okay. Next one, 3 boys are contributing to a business. Sam gives $400, Max gives $500, and Jim gives $600. What percent of the profit should Sam receive to the nearest percent? So, because Sam gives $400 out of the total, which the total here, if I add these all up, is $1,500, that's the percent that he should receive. So how much he gave out of the total, I divided out the 0, so I was really just looking at 4 over 15. I also didn't want to divide that, so I used my calculator. And round to the nearest percent and round appropriately. So you're going to get a decimal here, move that guy twice, and then just check that third number. If it's 5 or bigger, you got to round up. Okay, problem set 10, the location. We have a bullet that is traveling 2,800 kilometers per hour. What is its speed in miles per minute? So this is just conversion stuff, which I think you guys maybe do in ISL, but I started with that 2,800, which is kilometers per hour, and then I just multiply that by the fraction that I need to reduce appropriately. So because I need kilometers to cancel out, that kilometer number needs to go on the bottom so that these will cancel. And for each 1.6 kilometer, you have 1 mile. I also need to convert hours to minutes. So I need hours to be on top. And 1 hour, so that'll cancel out with that, is going to take 60 minutes. And so if we do all of our canceling out here, I'm left with miles, and then my hours cancels. So I'm left with miles over minutes, which is what I needed, miles over minutes. And so I just needed to multiply across the top, which is going to be 2,800 over the 1.6 times 60. And I definitely, again, used my calculator on that because that was too big. And again, round appropriately. Okay, last but not least, set 11. So a dollhouse is made up of 5 single and 3 double rooms. A double room has 5 more square feet than a single room. The dollhouse has a total of 127 square feet of floor space. How many square feet does a double room have? So I got really nervous and thought that I had to find area and stuff here. But I don't think we really do, because we're talking about the rooms and the total area of space. So I more so wrote this up as like a system of equations. So we got 5 singles and 3 doubles for a total area of 127 feet of floor space. So yeah, I don't know the feet, like square feet of each of those rooms, but I have 5 single ones and 3 double ones, whatever those areas are. The second sentence said that a double room has 5 more than, so 5 more square feet than a single room. So then I was able to do substitution. I took this and put it in for D. So I had 5s plus 3 times 5 plus s equals 127. Now this is going to get me how many square feet a single room has. But once I have that number, I can just add 5 to it to get the double room amount. No need for a calculator on that one. So your occupation problem. In the equation y equals ax plus b, if it has a y-intercept at 5 and passes through the point 2, negative 19, what is the y value of the point on the line when the x value is negative 2? So this right here is just in y equals mx plus b. The problem is they didn't tell me n, but they did tell me my y-intercept was 5, so I plugged that in. They also told me that I go through this point, which is like an x and a y value that I can plug in. So I did negative 19 in place of y equals, I don't know my slope, times 2 plus 5. So this was able to help me solve for a, which is my slope, and then I could write it out by filling this number in for slope right here, plus 5, because that's my y-intercept. Then what they want me to do, what is the y value of the point on the line when x is negative 2? So kind of once I have this, my slope is still right here, but then we're going to plug in negative 2 for x and get this y value as our final answer. No need for a calculator on that one. Okay, last but not least, this one is quite intense. So you have this super long expression right here, and they're wanting us to change it to look like that, where it's a fraction in lowest terms. What is the value of that craziness right there? So this is a crazy problem. But since we're just simplifying a fraction in lowest terms, I just started doing the math that I saw over here. So that 2x over 3, I couldn't do much about that. But right here, I FOILed that out. So like I wrote it out twice and got x squared minus 8x plus 16. And then right here, I distributed my negative 3. Here I distributed my negative again, so I had 2/3 x minus x squared plus 8x minus 16 minus 3x plus 15. Then I started combining some like terms. So I only had 1x squared, and it's negative 1x squared. Then in terms of all my x's, so I had 2/3, 8, and negative 3. So I combined those first for 5x, and then I had to add the 2/3, and so I just made that into an improper fraction. So you times the denominator by the big number, and then add that, so we're going to be at 17 over 3x. And then in terms of numbers without x's, you got negative 1. Once I did that, I realized I was not in that form. They want it all to be over one number. So I was like, well, why don't I make it all over 3? because then, like, this will be